guys, and welcome back to Only the Brave. We have just come out of celebrating Youth Month in South Africa, and as a country grappling with youth unemployment, I figured it's so important for us to continue to have the conversation of where youth are today and what we are doing for our future selves. So joining me today is a good friend of mine who has so much to share with us in this conversation. My good friend Sifenia, welcome to Only the Brave.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Thank you so much, Dane.
Thank you.
And hopefully Only the Brave will be brave enough, as it is brave literally in a figurative sense, just to throw that grammar outside and not pay attention to it. But anyway, I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we would be able to project the necessary topics that we are scared of.
Correct, because like I was saying to you offline, these are the kind of conversations we have to have with our group of friends, so that we can start, doing things that are going to benefit our future selves. So it's quite important, and I'm so happy that you are here, like I've mentioned, like I'll continue to mention, so just don't be nervous, just chill. This is two friends catching up, and chatting.
All right, no stress at all.
Okay, cool. So, like I mentioned earlier on in our conversations prior, Youth Month, it was such a different month for us in terms of celebrating. Back then we would be out partying, just being so happy. We are the youth of South Africa, and we have the world is our oyster. But now in hindsight, it's not the reality. We are unemployed. There's no opportunities for us in our country. And, just as youth, I don't know, what do you think we could do to, better ourselves, and in terms of collaboration, how can we take those first steps for us to be the youth of tomorrow?
With the Youth Month having passed, my only concern is which youth are we celebrating? Because I am part of the youth, and I haven't encountered so many steps in regards to maybe finding a job, maybe finding free education, as it is mentioned over and over again.
Yes, which will probably never happen.
It hasn't come to fruition as yet. We only see pass by on flyers, billboards, and social media. But when it comes to the core values of having whoever is the head of certain departments, we do not know them, we don't see them, and we don't even acknowledge them at some point. Because you only be able to acknowledge these type of people or these settings when one is now being pretty much on the show. We have to knock on my head, who's the minister of this and that? No one pays attention. I, as a youth member, there's certain ministers I'm not even sure as to what they're doing, who they are, name-wise. I don't know them.
Yeah. So
that's why I'm saying my question is, which youth are we celebrating? Because I am youth. I am youth, and I'm still youthful, as you can see. But anyway.
No, and you know what? That's so true, because which youth are we celebrating? Because whenever we celebrate Youth Month, we're always reminded of June 16th, back in 1976, if I'm not mistaken. And we celebrate them because they were the pioneers of change, especially in our education system. So we continue to celebrate them, but what are we doing? When I always look at it, I'm like, okay, cool. So it's great that we are celebrating them because we're not forgetting where we come from as a society. But what else has changed? We can't continuously, celebrate the past when our future is as destitute as it is right now.
It is destitute. I mean, not to sound naive, no negative. As youth, I think and believe that we're only celebrating our achievements. As we were talking the previous week, what type of cell phone I do have,
what car I drive, what clothes I'm wearing. And I think that's also on that conversation, just to echo on that, because you are in collaboration with a few guys, from your hood, and you were saying that, just what everyone's focus is not really aligned in terms of, okay, cool, so we've started this, we've set this up, and this is what the future looks like for it. But no, it's the other way around. It's like, okay, cool, we've set this up, but how can this benefit me immediately?
Yes, you're quite correct, because you look at these collaborations and these small startups we want to start without any government inclusions. Because we don't want to have government inclusions necessarily because there's no steps that we have seen
the government implement. Yeah.
And with that being said, you look at the rural areas, you get a kid who does exceptionally well, 7, 6, however much distinctions, right?
Yeah.
They're so far in terms of kilometers from the urban area.
Yes.
They're not urbanized mentally. Physically, they're strong than us in the urban area.
Yes.
They don't party that much. They don't encounter visual celebrities. They don't pretty much have a verbal dialogue that allows them to be part of the urban district.
Yes.
That sets them apart. However, we being in this spectrum of closer to departments, closer to celebrities, closer to
yes.
and you look at them and then you're like, in regards to your textbook, what can you tell me? And you find the kid gives you a holistic picture of a biological anatomy of a lizard, for instance.
Yes.
Whereas you find me in the urban district with these massive books and infrastructures which can allow me to be further in terms of mindset.
Yeah, from like book smart to being street smart as well, having that collaboration.
We don't have it.
Yeah.
That's why you find me saying earlier on that who are we celebrating in the past month of June? Even the guys who have laid foundations for us. We don't commemorate. You only commemorate when you see a show on TV and start mentioning names and.
Yeah.
But however, what about the guys in the 60s? The guys in the 1900s who've actually suffered more than the shootings which were happening.
Yeah, we are suffering today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now we have an economical struggle, and it's like, how do we collaborate now to better, especially because we have the infrastructure, we have, like you're mentioning, the smart guys, we have the street smart guys. And for me, what I've also figured or found that it's people are such, especially as a youth, we are such classists that we don't want to associate ourselves, not knowing how we could leverage from one another. And that's the most important, or the key, to building a beautiful and thriving economy amongst ourselves.
That's a fact. However, the funny thing is that I'm saying however, because however is a but. It just tends to mess up everything.
Yes.
So that's more...
So why but? Why however?
No steps have been taken.
Also, because you're also saying the government hasn't implemented those steps, and I know that on some like radio stations they were running like a manifesto. What do you think those steps are that we could set up for ourselves? Because we are the youth and we understand our issues. The government, like we mentioned, they are older. We don't know who they are. So what are those steps that we need to implement and say to them, guys, this is what we need as a youth, and we need your assistance to help implement these steps.
The government needs to stop being scared, especially the old men and the old ladies which are there. No disrespect. I'm just saying in terms of we, the youth, have so many ideas, so many fathoms of what could be and how we could be as millennials and moving forward to be adults and. However, strategy needs to be put in place. And strategy, I mean, we as youth need to come with strategies. This thing of having the government come up with strategies and that's what I was saying. You find flyers, you find billboards. Action is not behind the billboard.
Yes.
Action doesn't come. Because when action therefore precedes what we have to be part of, it now only arises election day, election year, next year. Oh guys, we need to push. And with all of these things, flyers have been set out. You get some councillors, some and officers of the government alignment whereby when the auditing season comes, they're still sitting with X and X amount of cash. Social development. What has been done?
Yeah, so also do you think with all those, so whatever strategies the government has and they put in place, so clearly we don't hold them to account. Like, okay, this is what you guys have put out and promised for us. So here we are, be accountable, implement those strategies because we are now willing and we are able to take on, whatever strategies have been put. So maybe we as youth should also, take some accountability and also realize that, okay, maybe we aren't, holding these people in power to account.
Okay, so I'll say this, and I'll stand behind what I'm going to say now. As youth, we are taking steps.
Mm-hmm.
We are taking steps to a point whereby you get a guy who has 2 companies. You listen to what they're saying instead of what they've written on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Piece of paper doesn't work anymore. What you project verbally, how you set your time bounds, how you materialize and therefore conceptualize your ideas, that's the only thing that could push the strategy of collaboration, especially the youth.
Yes.
So if we have all of these fundamentals in place, we can therefore say, government, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All I need is X and X revenue.
Yeah.
X and X time span. I think normally it takes about 6 months to about 36 months. Because it's low.
For that
project, yeah.
Okay.
So it's 6 months to about 36 months.
Mm-hmm.
And with that 6 to 36 months, you have that X and X amount.
Mm-hmm.
And with that X and X amount, that's whereby we throw in diversity. Because we grew up in a nation whereby...
the Rainbow Nation.
The Rainbow Nation.
Yeah.
But the Rainbow Nation, it's only rainbow on paper.
Mm-hmm.
When we speak of collaborations and youth, I'm now thinking... Again, not to sound otherwise.
So we just focus on like cultural collaboration and not the rainbow.
No, because when you speak of Rainbow Nation, I understand it to be, as I was growing up, I understood it to be, the Rainbow Nation is just to add, that other color in the picture, because of they need to just adjust.
Yes, to the times.
To adjust to the times instead of just being head on and say, we want to revenge and those things won't work. However, some people are still hurt.
Yes.
We are from the Youth Month. We're speaking about youth and the guys who passed on.
Yeah.
And the baton that they've passed on in regards to the strategy that we are to carry on, the baton is dropped.
Yes.
It has dropped for, 40, 30, 100 years. We haven't encountered it. For me saying, I don't think I've encountered it.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying this because we find some of our friends, they do very well, but the lifestyle and the perception and the perspective, it's not even narrow. It's just too obscure.
But also with that, because so I do know that majority of successful youth, we look at them and we're like, our perspective of them is totally different to what their reality is. So I do get where you're coming from, where we think that their perspective on life is not necessarily aligned to what we think they should, be doing, like investing, putting back into their communities, lifting the other up and whatever. So there are those that small percentage that now kind of clouds our judgment, and then we think, oh nope, this is actually everyone who's successful has kind of turned their backs and forged their own path.
Maybe not have shunned themselves from being part of. And that's why I'll go back and say the Rainbow Nation is diversity, but with this diversity being cast on us, there's no inclusion.
And I also think exactly with that, we are also not including the other race. And I will be racial in saying this, because I do know some people, they will much rather only stick with people of color as opposed to including our white brothers and sisters, our Indian brothers and sisters, and just because they feel like, well, they've had the opportunity, they continue to have the opportunity, but in a country like South Africa where things have become so dire, it really is important to look at that rainbow nation structure and see how we all can play a part, because right now we all are in the same boat. We all are experiencing unemployment equally. So we can no longer play that game where we say, well, you had the opportunity, so it's my time. We really do have to collaborate, and we need to want it. And I think also by having conversations like these with our friends, just trying to like broaden their perspective, on the importance of collaboration in our so-called rainbow nation.
True. After you said, I don't even know what you just said. You just said everything. Yeah. Because you're actually right, and you're factual. So the only thing I can think about now is, after moving from this diversity we just touched on, is inclusion. Yeah. Because if you do not include me in your company, or you do not include me in your circle of friends, or how am I supposed to come back and say, I will meet you at that very same Waterhole? Yeah. Because the narrative is we all need to meet at the same Waterhole. Yes. Even if I come with 15 rand, 15 family members to take care of, that means 1 rand per head. Yes. You have 100 rand with 3 siblings behind you. That's enough. Yeah. But also for me, with that 15 rand, it's enough. Because now we're meeting at the same spot. And how do we ensure that everyone gets to that Waterhole, which is very important? Because if we all are able to benefit, the Waterhole being the metaphor for the economy, that takes so much pressure off a whole lot of things, and we can focus on so much more. We can start to address issues like free education, because now everyone is benefiting from the economy because you can also contribute to it. So at some point, your 15 rand now becomes 1,500 rand because you were able to, with that 15 rand, support those 15 family members, and they were able to benefit from whatever we've worked on. Yeah, because also the idea is, out of the 15, we're not saying, or I'm not saying, I want all 15 members to step the way I step. No. The anticipation and the trajectory is, I wish and hope that out of the 15, I just need 3 to follow in my footsteps. And following my footsteps in a way that their discretion is not different, it's the same, because you still need to go to the Waterhole. Yeah. But how they therefore view the attendance of themselves physically. Yeah. It's important. Yeah, yes, and exactly. It's like that. It's also it's like creating a generational desire to do better. Yes. Yes. And since 76, there's no generational desire. Yeah, and I know, and it's such a difficult conversation to have, because even myself, that's why I like to have this conversation, so that I can continue to educate myself, but I still haven't gotten to some conclusion as to why and how we have, like you've mentioned, dropped the baton. Like, why? What happened along the lines for us just to give up and say, well, this is where we find ourselves. But I want to say, going back to when you spoke about, government injecting whatever money into your idea, and you mentioned a timeline, and what I can think of is that we're not patient enough as well. We want instant gratification. We want things to happen now. So when we look at this timeline that's given to us, like, okay, cool, the process is gonna take 6 months to 36, and whatever steps they give you, for you to get to that finish line, that's what you need to do. I think people are quite impatient. It's like, okay, I've been unemployed for X amount of years, or I've been out of school for X amount of years, I'm a graduate. Yeah. Like, the opportunity needs to be there when I request it. So I suppose it's also a matter of impatience from our side. Impatience, notion of greed, notion of no time value, notion of no inbound consistency in regards to information, and how a project is to be run. Yes. I do not know how a project is to be run, but I have an idea as to how a project is to be run. Because now, if we still gonna come back next year and say, Happy Youth Month, well, I might as well lay in bed and sleep the entire month.
Yeah, if we're going to say Happy Youth Month with an unemployment rate of 46% or hopefully not higher next year, then we really are not, putting in the work.
It's a good word to use. That's why I shrug my shoulders. I wanted to say the other people are not putting in the work because they have enough capital to can start these projects. But however, I'm going to take too long. But anyway, let me cut it short. So what I'm saying is, a project from where we are from and from where we are in now is, I give you 5 rand, I need that return in 6 months or in 3. However, project is a time span.
Yes.
Project is months. Project is task teams.
And exactly what you're saying is with the whole project subject is like with timelines. Yes, because like you mentioned, there's like you know how to, you have an idea of how a project should run, but there's more information you need in order for it to be successful. Yes. So it's also that, like, what are you also doing with the time? Yes, if they're saying, okay, cool, you have 36 months before we can release this money to you. In that time, instead of looking at the situation and saying, well, 36 months is too long, I need to do this now. Yeah. But like you mentioned, we all have an idea of what we want to do, but there's so much more information that needs to be applied in order for it to be successful. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Continue to comment on the comment section, subscribe, and more shows like this will pop up. To my guys on the podcast, tune into Only the Brave podcast on YouTube. And yes, see us on that side. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.